Hello, everyone. Happy Valentine's Day. This is a special bonus episode of the Single Today podcast. It's episode 19, and it's called How to Laugh at Valentine's Day. But first, it was Valentine's Day last year when I launched the Single Today podcast. And so the podcast is officially 1 year old today. I just want to say thank you to all of you who have been listening. And if you're new, my name is Ryan Wekenman. I'm the author of a book called Single Today. And this podcast, the Single Today podcast, has become a space for us to continue to explore and talk about the subject of singleness. This book is so much of my story and my struggles over the years and the freedom that I have learned to find in singleness. I've been calling it a guide to help you laugh at Valentine's Day, and you'll see why in just a second. So I'd love for you to read it. And I got an email this week, someone who read it in 6 hours. And they were just really, really fired up about it. And that always means the world to me, especially when somebody takes the time to read it all the way through like that. And so thank you to all of you who have been reading it. If you'd like to support it more, leaving a review on Amazon and on Goodreads is a super helpful thing, or wherever you bought the book is super helpful. Now, let's get into this episode, because I would imagine if you're watching this the day it came out and you are single, today is potentially the hardest day of being single. I always say your birthday and Christmas are right up there too. Valentine's Day is strange, right? Because there is like the whole world suddenly out of nowhere is celebrating romance at every corner. And it's making you feel once again like there's something wrong with you if you are not in a relationship. And so just for the next few minutes, I want to give you a really helpful tool that I use to laugh at Valentine's Day. Because here's the truth right from the top. So much about being single is not funny. Like, there's nothing funny about loneliness. It's actually a real problem, and it's getting worse. There's nothing funny about unmet dreams and desires. There's nothing funny about rejection. There's nothing funny about heartbreak. All those things are tragic, and I'm sorry. And on Valentine's Day, you can sometimes feel like an ant scurrying across the sidewalk while some kid like holds a magnifying glass over you, like burning you. It's like the emotions that we feel on Valentine's Day are 50 times stronger than they are on a normal day. I get all of that. And so I just want to give us a very simple guide, a very simple tool that's going to help us laugh today, or whatever day you're listening to this to, because laughter is so important. Proverbs 17:22 says, "A joyful heart is good medicine." A joyful heart is good medicine. Medicine, like when you go to the doctor and you're sick and they do all the tests and then they give you the medicine that makes you feel better. Well, scripture just said that a joyful heart works the same way. Not that you shouldn't stop taking your medicine. That's important. I'm just saying that medicine or that joy acts like medicine does. It helps make us feel better. But really important caveat right up top. What I'm not saying is it fixes everything. Two things can be true at the same time. This episode is not me saying, well, you got to just get over it. You got to stop being sad. Why don't you just stop being heartbroken? Oh yeah, you got to just stop being lonely and start laughing, right? Like, no, that's not at all what I'm saying. All those feelings and emotions are valid. What I'm saying in this episode is that it's possible to learn how to let joy and laughter exist simultaneously with sadness and heartbreak. I almost see that like you can hold both in your hands. Like you have the sadness and the heartbreak in one hand, and you have the joy and the laughter in the other. And by the way, Jesus, who for me is my rabbi, the person that I'm trying to be like, he was very, very good at holding both simultaneously. And so we see him express deep sorrow and deep pain, and we see him weep. Then we also see him walk really lightly and do a lot of amazing things and heal a lot of people. And like it's like in the middle of a very heavy ministry, It's like Jesus was light on his feet at the same time. Why? Because he understood that two things can be true at once. This can be very tragic and heavy and hard, and I can learn to laugh in the middle of it. And let me just say this: if you can learn to laugh in the middle of the pain, if you can learn to find the humor even in the middle of the sadness, I'm telling you, it's like a superpower. And so in my book, Single Today, I have a chapter. It's one of the chapters that I've probably gotten the most positive feedback from. It's called Less Grasping, More Laughing. Less grasping, more laughing. 4 words that have become a prayer for me, like an anthem of my singleness. Less grasping, more laughing. The chapter opens with a story where I'm sitting with my spiritual director, just like a spiritual counselor, and I'm complaining. This was years ago. This was probably 10 years ago. Yeah, I think I was in my mid-20s. I'm sitting with him and I'm complaining because I'm just starting into being a pastor at the time. And it's like there's so much frustration that I'm feeling around being single. And I'm so stressed out about it. And everybody's making a bigger deal than they need to be about it. And I'm complaining. I'm complaining. And then he just gently points to my fists. And I realized that both of my fists are like clenched like this. If you're listening to this, I'm just clenching my fists. And he just points it out. And then he goes, "Hey, open your hands real quick." So I open my hands. And he goes, "How do you feel?" And I go, "A lot better." It's like I wasn't even noticing or realizing that I was doing it. I was just complaining. And I had these closed fists, like I was grasping so hard to my singleness. And then he just invites me to open my hands. And suddenly it changes so much about how I'm feeling, moving from this clenched fist to this open hands. And then he dropped these 4 words that have become my prayer. He goes, "Less grasping, more laughing." And so I cannot tell you how many times I have said that both out loud and sometimes to myself. Less grasping, more laughing. I want to give that to you today. What if that became your prayer for Valentine's Day today and every single day that you are single? Less grasping, more laughing. Like when all of your friends are getting engaged and married and you're still alone and you feel like you're running out of time and you start to panic about it all. Less grasping, more laughing. When you have feelings for someone and then you tell them and it doesn't go well, and then you start to feel like you heard God wrong, and so now you're mad at God and you're really just embarrassed, and now you feel like you messed up any chance at a friendship with that person, and then you feel super weird about it. Less grasping, more laughing. Or when it's Valentine's Day again, and you thought for sure by this Valentine's Day you'd be in a relationship, but you're not. And again, you're starting to worry that you're going to just repeat the same story next year. And then the panic starts setting in that you're running out of time. Less grasping, more laughing. It's 4 very simple words. They can change everything. I'm telling you, like you start doing this exercise, you'll begin to notice just how often your fists get clenched in conversations. It's not just my fists, by the way. And by the way, all this, the body keeps the score, right? We're learning how to listen to our body because our body is trying to tell us something. And what our body is trying to tell us is that we're grasping too much and we need to start laughing a little bit more. For me, it's not just my fist, my jaw will clench up. Like I'll be having a conversation with somebody about getting older and running out of time. And without even realizing it, I'll realize how tight my jaw has gotten. And so I've learned to just notice that, right? Less grasping, more laughing. Or my shoulders. Sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night with that spiral about singleness and what that means for my future and all of that. And it'll be like 3 a.m. and I'll wake up with my shoulders like up in my ears, right? And so that's where I just whisper this prayer. Less grasping, more laughing. My body is telling me that I'm grasping too hard and I'm worrying too much, and that God is giving a sweet invitation to grasp a little less and laugh a little bit more. I love this phrase because it isn't cold comfort. It's not saying the things you're going through aren't hard. Of course they are. It's simply just inviting you to stop trying to control it quite as much. Like the phrase less grasping, more laughing isn't dispelling your pain. It's actually welcoming you to evaluate it. It's hard to be honest about how you're feeling when you're grasping too tightly to something. So the phrase is actually an invitation to let go a bit so you can see it objectively. So you can ask, why am I upset about this again? Why am I sad? Okay, so that part's valid, but that part's kind of silly. Got it, right? Like when you're grasping too tight, it's impossible to see all of that objectively. It's kind of like trying to do a puzzle with all the puzzle pieces facing down. So you can't actually see what's on the pieces, and you end up having a really stressful time trying to piece it all together. Laughter is the sweet invitation to turn the puzzle pieces back over, to help see what's actually on the puzzle pieces so you can figure out where they go. It's like helping you relinquish control long enough to see the puzzle pieces, to know which ones are serious and which ones are just you being dramatic. Less grasping, more laughing. I'm not saying that it fixes everything. I'm not saying that it makes the sadness go away, but I am saying that there is an invitation right in the middle of the sadness and right in the middle of the pain for you to laugh simultaneously alongside with all the sorrow. And so on this Valentine's Day, I want to invite you to make that your prayer. Whatever is going on in your life today, wherever you're at, whatever you are feeling, whatever day of the year it is, what if there's an invitation for you right now to grasp a little less and laugh a little more? I want to read the end of this chapter, Less Grasping, More Laughing, for you, because I love how it ends. And so a reading from Single Today. This is page 146. In other words, less grasping, more laughing. When that relative asks you if you're dating anyone yet, and you feel like they're twisting a dagger in your heart, go ahead and say what you really want to say, Aunt Polly. I get it. I'm letting the family down. That's a sign that you're grasping and an invitation to practice laughing. When your friend gets into a relationship and you smile, celebrate, and listen to the story, but deep down you feel threatened. Oh, come on, Benji got into a relationship before me? Really? That's a sign that you're grasping and an invitation to practice laughing. When that coworker's joke about your singleness makes you want to body slam him into the ground, that's a sign that you're grasping and an invitation to practice laughing. Singleness is a gift, like an X-ray machine revealing to us where we're holding on too tight, where we're grasping and need to learn how to laugh. Because grasping is what you do when you're worried about the future, but laughing is what we do when we're grounded in today. So that 4-word prayer is the answer to just about every situation we've talked about so far. And then I talk about a few of those things from earlier chapters in the book. And then I end it like this. And when the water in your soul is so rough, you can barely make out anything in it, less grasping, more laughing. I wonder what new possibilities we may make room for if we learn to let go a little bit. You may just find that singleness is a lot more fun. It may even start to feel like a gift. And if you do meet someone, you may find that a significant other makes a better dance partner than a hostage.